All praise to Yahweh, in the name of his Son, Yahweh Shai, in the name of the Holy Spirit. Our double honors to my elders, apostles, and the bishops of Great Millstone, where I have learned this truth and where I am still learning this truth. And also shalom to the remnant and the elect of Israel. Okay. Keep in mind that Israel, all right, was scattered into all nations of the earth and are still in all nations of the earth. Okay, so we can look like all nations. All right, so the remnant and the elect could possibly look like Esau, could possibly look like Ammon, could possibly look like Moab. All right, so you cannot judge by your eyes only. Okay. All right, so again, shalom to the remnant and the elect of Israel. Lord willing, I am of that number. All right, this video is going to be another reading of 2nd Esdras, the 13th chapter, except for this time, the reading is going to be from the Good News translation. All right, it reads the 6th vision. All right, it reads the vision. It reads, or no, hold on. Scratch that. That's not the heading of this. All right. Or really, I guess it could, I guess it could be, kind of. All right, but I'm gonna start at verse 51 of 2nd Esdras 12. Okay, which is the last verse in the 12th chapter of 2nd Esdras, and then we're gonna go on to chapter 13 and read the entire thing. All right, it reads. This is verse 51 of 2nd Esdras chapter 12. It reads, "I stayed in the field for 7 days, as the angel had commanded me. I ate nothing but wild flowers. I was a vegetarian in those days." Let me look at something really quick, man. These translations, you have to, if you don't have a foundation, all right, if the Lord didn't will you to have a foundation, all right, you can get caught up in these translations. All right, let me look at something really quick. This is in the King James, regular King James Apocrypha. Verse 51 of 2nd Esdras 12. "But I remained still in the field 7 days, as the angel commanded me, and did eat only in those days of flowers of the field, and had my meat of the herbs." All right, I just wanted to check that out because they put a very modern word in there. All right, vegetarian. Anyway, 2nd Esdras, the 13th chapter in the Good News translation. "The 7 days passed, and the following night I had a dream. In my dream, I saw a wind coming up out of the sea and stirring up great waves. As I watched, the wind brought with it out of the sea what looked like a man, and he was flying on the clouds. When he turned his face, everything he looked at began to tremble. And when he spoke, everyone who heard his voice melted like wax in a fire. I looked again, and I saw a crowd too large to count. They were people gathered together from all parts of the world to fight against the man who had come up out of the sea. Then I watched the man carve out a high mountain and fly up on it. I tried to see the place or the region from which the mountain was carved, but I couldn't. Then I saw that all the people who had come together to make war against him were terrified, but they still prepared to fight him. When the man saw the great crowd advancing to attack him, he did not take up any weapons. The only thing I saw was what looked like a stream of fire coming out of his mouth. He sent a flaming wind from his lips and a storm of sparks from his tongue. The stream of fire, the flaming wind, and the great storm combined and swept down on the crowd that was coming to attack him and burned them all up. In a single moment, that crowd, too large to count, vanished. Ashes and the smell of smoke. Hold on. Yo, he going, hey. Esau and his angels, or the people that hold to him, all right, that come together and try to fight the Lord, man, y'all in for it, man. Y'all can get embarrassed. You will get embarrassed, man. Let me start back at 11. All right, this is verse 11 of 2nd Esdras, the 13th chapter in the Good News Translation. It says, and swept, it says, the stream of fire, the flaming wind, and the great storm combined and swept down on the crowd that was coming to attack him and burned them all up. Ooh. Man. In a single moment, that crowd, too large to count, vanished, and there was nothing left but powdery ashes and the smell of smoke. I was shocked when I saw what had happened. Then I saw the man come down from the mountain and call another large crowd to come to him. This was a peace-loving crowd. All sorts of people came. Some were happy, some were sad, some had their hands and feet tied, and some brought others as a gift to the Lord. All right. There's a heading right here. It says the interpretation of the vision. It reads, I was so frightened that I woke up. I prayed to God Most High and said, Lord, you have been showing me all these marvelous things. You have considered me worthy and have heard my prayers. Now please show me the meaning of this dream also. I have been thinking how terrible it will be for the people who will be living in those days, but how much worse for those who do not survive. They will be in great sorrow because they will not enjoy any of the pleasures reserved for the last days. But how terrible also for those who do survive. They will have to face great dangers and many troubles, as these dreams have shown. Nevertheless, it is better to pass through these dangers and reach the end than to disappear like a cloud from this world and never see what takes place in the last days. Man, and I pray that I get to see and be a part of the great deliverance. Okay? And see the destruction of this place, man. All right, it reads, he answered, I will explain to you the meaning of the vision and answer the questions you have asked. You have raised questions about those who will survive, or you have raised questions about those who will survive until the end. The answer is that the one who brings the dangers in those days will also protect from danger. The people who have stored up good works and faithfulness with God the Almighty One. You may be certain that those who survive are far more fortunate than those who die. This is the meaning of the vision. The man you saw coming up out of the sea represents the one whom God Most High has kept ready for many ages. He will free the world. He will free the world he created and establish the new order for those who survive. You saw the wind, fire, and storm going out of the man's mouth, and you saw that without the use of a spear or any other weapon, he destroyed the great crowd that was advancing to attack him. This means that the time is near when God Most High will begin to free the people on earth. At that time, everyone will be close to panic. They will begin to make war against one another, city against city, region against region, nation against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. When that happens, the signs I told you about earlier will take place. And then I will reveal my son, whom you saw as a man coming out of the sea. Man. All right. Does that sound like we're in those times? Verse 33 of 2nd Esdras, the 13th chapter in the Good News Translation. It reads, when they hear his voice, all the nations will leave their own territory, forget their wars with one another, and come together in one great crowd, too large to count. As you saw in your dream, the nations will unite with the single purpose of making war on my son. Man. He will take his stand on the top of Mount Zion, and the new Jerusalem will be seen by everyone. It will be completed and fully built, just as in your dream you saw the mountain carved out, but not by human hands. Then my son will condemn the assembled nations for their godlessness. This is what the storm meant. He will confront them with the wicked plans they have made, and also with the torments they must endure. That is what the flames meant. Then he will easily destroy them by means of the law. That is what the fire meant. Dang. You saw him gather another great crowd of peace-loving people. These are the 10 tribes of Israel, who were taken away into captivity in the time of King Hoshea. King Shalmaneser of Assyria captured them and deported them to a foreign land east of the Euphrates River. But the 10 tribes decided not to stay in that land among the many Gentiles. So they moved further east to a country where no human beings had ever lived before. There they hoped to keep their laws, which they had failed to keep in their own country. When they had to make the difficult passage across the Euphrates, God Most High performed miracles for them and blocked the channels of the river until they had crossed over. Their long journey through that region, which is named Azareth or Arzareth, took a year and a half, and they have lived there ever since. Now in these last days, they are coming back home. And once again, God Most High will block the channels of the river so that they may cross over. That is the meaning of the great crowd of peace-loving people you saw. But they will also have with them all of your own people who are left and who are found within the borders of my holy land. When the time comes for my son to destroy the crowd that has gathered from every nation, he will protect his people who are left and perform many great miracles for them. Then I said, Lord and Master, please tell me why the man came up out of the sea. He answered, no one can explore the bottom of the sea to find out what is there. In the same way, no human being can see my son or those who come with him until the day that has been fixed. That is the meaning of your dream. You alone have been given this information because you have given up your own interests to devote yourself to mine and to study of my law. You have dedicated your life to wisdom, and understanding has been like a mother to you. That is why God Most High has rewarded you by showing you these things. After 3 days, I will come back and tell you about other profound wonders. All right. So before we go, I want to look at something here. All right. So what I noticed is this this Good News Translation said that in verse 41, it says, but the 10 tribes decided not to stay in that land among the many Gentiles, so they moved farther east to a country where no human beings had ever lived. All right. They say further east. All right. In the King James of the an Apocrypha, okay, the King James Apocrypha, this is what 41 says. 2nd Esdras 13 and 41. Actually, I'll start at 40. It reads, uh, actually, let me read this again from the Good News. I'll find a better starting point. All right, this is verse 39 of 2nd Esdras chapter 13. It says, you saw him gather another great crowd of peace-loving people. These are the 10 tribes of Israel who were taken away into captivity in the time of King Hoshea. King Shalmaneser of Assyria captured them and deported them to a foreign land east of the Euphrates River. But the 10 tribes decided not to stay in that land among the many Gentiles. So they moved further east to a country where no human beings had ever lived before. All right. So now let's start at 2nd Esdras 13 and verse 39 in the King James. And whereas thou sawest that he gathered another peaceable multitude unto him, those are the 10 tribes which were carried away prisoners out of their own land in the time of Osei the king, whom Shalmaneser the king of Assyria led away captive, and he carried them over the waters, and so came they into another land. But they took this counsel among themselves, that they would leave the multitude of the heathen, and go forth into a further country where never mankind dwelt. All right. So what I'm pointing out here is that in this Good News translation, all right, it keeps talking about 10 tribes going further east. I want to look something up. Okay, hold on a second. Man. All right, give me a second. Give me a quick second. All right, that was a little bit more than a second on this side, even though it was a second on maybe that side. But I'm gonna have to do more studies on the travels of the Northern Kingdom. All right, all I was pointing out was that in the Good News translation, it mentioned east, going east, east, east. Okay, but in the regular Apocrypha, all right, didn't mention east. Okay, but this is something that I need to go look into, just so that I know the history. All right, and in learning these things, again, Luke 21 and 15. Let me get that in the Good News and see what it says. Luke 21 and 15. I'll start at 13. In the Good News translation, it reads, I'll start at 14. Luke 21:14 in the Good News Translation. Make up your minds ahead of time not to worry about how you will defend yourselves, because I will give you such words and wisdom that none of your enemies will be able to refute or contradict what you say. Okay, so I need to go and look at these the history. All right, my teachers always say if you don't know the history, you won't know the mysteries. All right, and these are things that I need to look up. Okay. Again, I was just pointing out that I seen the direction of the east for the northern kingdom in the Good News translation when it's not stated in the King James. So I need to go look that up to be sure. All right. So that was a reading of Second Esdras, the 13th chapter in the Good News translation. All right. So with that, call halal Yahweh, Baal Hashem, Yahweh Shai, Baal Hashem, Wakaha Kodash. All right. Double honors to my elders, apostles, and the bishops of Great Millstone, where I have learned this truth and where I am still learning this truth. And also shalom to the remnant and the elect of Israel. Lord willing, I'm of that number. And Lord willing, we'll see you in the next video. Shalom.